Check Ryanair. Ryanair is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryanair.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees, in my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega XL has worked.
Form of vitamin D, which promotes whole body health, which is crucial for cellular health, especially regarding the cells of the immune system. Every cell in your body needs vitamin D3 to function properly, so pick up your bottle of vitamin XL D3 today. Joining us is a lady who is no stranger to The Observer. She's been on before and always insightful, giving us her perspective and as well connecting the dots. Please let me welcome UNC Senator and Attorney at Law, Ms. Jayanti Lakshmi-Dayal.
Hi, good night. Thank you again for having me once more, and good night to all your listeners.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time out. And of course, season's greetings to you and your family, and all the best.
Of course, same to you. Same
for
to you and
2025. Well, as we come on the air, we've been told, well, the information here is that the government has pulled back on this bill that, of course, was highlighted by the opposition leader. Of course, it was told to us by the minister, which is Minister Donna Cox, that this was basically about protecting the elderly. Now, many of us were confused. I mean, there has to be a criteria, and if it is that you qualify for it and you get it, I don't know how does it involve anyone knowing how the money is spent or whatever. But anyhow, in good sense, they have basically made it quite clear that they are not going forward with it. What were we looking at here? Was this something that perhaps came through? Because, the average person on the ground would want to know that when you have these cabinet notes, it's something that's discussed. Everyone goes through it with a fine-tooth comb, and before even making a statement or making a move, you would double check and make sure. What are we looking at here?
Well, we're looking at a case here of either sheer, unimaginable, unbelievable incompetence, or plain out lying to cover themselves now that they have seen the kind of pushback that they have been getting since being exposed by Mrs. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. And I would like to think that it is, in fact, the latter, because I don't think that anybody could actually be that incompetent. For those of anyone who has worked in the public service in any ministry, and those who are familiar with the process would know that it is a very detailed process that happens before a bill is laid in Parliament. And to accept the explanation proffered today by the Minister and the Attorney General, you really have to be worse than an ostrich with your head in the sand, because, I would quicker believe that, aliens are going to land tonight in Trinidad before I could believe that explanation that was given. I felt nothing but shame and embarrassment for the Attorney General today, hearing him try to explain away what has happened. It is very clear to me that this bill was laid. It was, there's a strategic timing I have observed with this government, that between Christmas and Carnival, when the population is very busy and distracted with all the things that are going on, that they think they try to slip these things through. And I think that they didn't realize that with this amendment bill, amending the Senior Citizens Pensions Act, that people would have noticed this. But essentially, this bill was going to introduce an entirely new criteria for qualifying for this, what we commonly call old age pension, which is really a grant. And I see people trying to sound intelligent and saying, well, the government, US wants a pension, it's not a pension, it's a grant, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. The point of the matter is, from time immemorial, for a very long time, the requirement was that you had to be a resident, you had to meet the age criteria of 65, and you had to be not have income over a certain amount in order to qualify for this grant, right? What we call old age pension.
Right.
And they tried to introduce an entirely new criteria, meaning that you couldn't have, and they say you couldn't have more than $25,000 in savings. How that was going to work and being able to access your banking information and all of that, that's a whole other discussion. But the fact is that that is an entirely new criteria. They are saying that when the policy was a first, so when you're making a law, you have a policy document in some cases, and the policy is approved by the cabinet, and then the bill is sent to the Attorney General's office to be drafted. They are saying the original policy didn't mention this, and the note that didn't mention it. But when it was drafted, it goes to something called the LRC, the Legislation Review Committee, which comprises a number of ministers, and you would have various technocrats from different ministries, so I assume social development, maybe finance, maybe wherever, coming before the LRC and, discussing the whole thing and discussing all the different provisions. And they are saying that at that stage, a public servant had introduced the concept of savings, and that found its way into the bill. And then the bill was then approved and laid. And the Attorney General is saying that he wasn't in the country when the final bill came to Cabinet and then was sent to the Parliament to be laid. Now, at the end of the day, even if he's not here, someone is acting in the role of Attorney General.
Of course.
So did that person not read the bill? Did nobody else in the cabinet read the bill? And I really cannot believe that a public servant would have suggested this. The people who have to do the final drafting of the bill in the Chief Parliamentary Counsel's office, which falls under the Attorney General, would have simply drafted this provision and put it in there. This is a major policy shift. You are introducing new criteria to qualify for this grant. That is a policy decision. That's not just a move and a comma and a full stop.
Yeah, and
You
Senator,
understand?
that's what stands out. I mean, what public servant would have the authority to make such a big shift like that?
Nobody can do that, and nobody can draft. And I don't know, you have to go back and remember all the things that would have happened. I don't know if you remember that one of the last things that Minister Faris Al-Rawi had done before he was fired as Attorney General was that he had reported the Chief Parliamentary Counsel saying that he was not following instructions and so on and so forth.
Right.
And it turned out that at that time the Chief Parliamentary Counsel had said that he was not receiving the proper confirmed notes to the policy and so on from Cabinet as part of his instructions in terms of drafting. The draft people who work in the Office of the Attorney General don't just catch a VAT and drafting just so because somebody raises it in a meeting. You have to be crazy. They would never do that. They get solid written instructions saying this is what Cabinet has approved, A, B, C, and D. And then they do the drafting according to, they know the style and the language and how to structure things and whatnot, how to structure a bill. That's their job. But they don't make policy. Cabinet makes the policy. So the draft people only draft based on Cabinet policies or based on policies that, even if you want to change the policy at the LRC stage, that has to be approved, and the draft people have to get the approval. So they can't just overhear a conversation and draft something and push it in there.
I
That's
agree
crazy.
with you. And I think it was a bad day for government. I mean, when
It's been one of many bad days that they've had recently. So let me tell you what really happened here.
Right.
They were exposed. They see the pushback that they were going to get because everybody in the country who has been talking about this today, if you look at listen to the talk shows, listen to the radio, look at social media, everybody has been talking about this coming directly on the heels of the government's decision to accept those huge salary increases for themselves. And when you could, be so callous and show the country that you so do not care about the thoughts or how people view anything. You just care about a budget where you told people hold straight until 2027, but at the same time giving yourself now a massive increase, and then you want to introduce new requirements dealing with how much savings people have if they have to qualify for old age pension. I mean, when you take all those three things together, the image of the government, I think, was taking a severe beating. And so they did not expect anybody in this festive season, and we have a tendency in Trinidad, probably Christmas to Carnival, we jam and still everybody occupied. Googling fat tickets or thing, whatever. They did not expect to be
Yeah.
exposed and for it to get the attention that it got. And I would say today was a victory. It wasn't a bad day for government alone. It was also a victory for the opposition because the opposition leaders' exposure of the government on Monday night that forced them to now withdraw this bill and get that clause out there. But what I want to say, and I would close this matter off on me saying this, if people put God out of their thoughts and elect this government again, I will not be surprised if this provision will be reintroduced. Because yesterday, the Minister of Social Development made comments to the media when she was asked about it, defending this aspect of the policy. So it cannot be that it found its way there because some public servants suggested it, when yesterday the minister was actually defending it. And that sends a very powerful message to me, and it should send a very powerful message to the rest of the people in this country, that should you elect a PNM government again, expect to see this and even more stringent measures in place that will cut many more people out of the loop and prevent them. And, at the end of the day, I understand that you don't want people abusing the facility of a government grant that is meant to care for, persons who cannot care for themselves, who don't get income from somewhere, they can't earn an income or they don't have another pension or something like that. They haven't made NIS contributions because they weren't employed throughout their life or whatever it is. But you want to find out about people's savings and look at the threshold. They were looking at $25,000. It's almost like you are going to discourage people from saving in their bank.
But I also want to agree. I also want to agree with you there because I think they were able to define this thing now as a grant and something that basically telling citizens that you are not. It's not an entitlement. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Criteria.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's reintroduced. If it is that people don't go out there and make sure that they are out. And I think
because it's been part of their narrative for some time now, particularly around budget time and budget statements and so on, that people are living longer, that the government has to pay out a lot of money in terms of pension, NIS even, which is a contributory scheme, is strained. I would say it's not just strained because people are living longer, but I also think there's some level of mismanagement in terms of that fund, and we need to find out what's happening with that as well. But they've been singing this song for a while now that the aging population, you have more people living longer and people having less children, so therefore you have an aging population and it's a strain on the economy, etc. We know what's a strain on the economy. A strain on the economy is the $50 million that they put in aside for step in the office of the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
A strain on the economy, to me, is the big salary increases that they are putting in place to make sure on their way out they could grab everything that they could get. That is a strain on the economy.
Yeah, but
they have been singing this song, so expect them to reintroduce provisions like this and even more stringent ones to cut back on the eligibility of persons for pensions if they are really desperate.
But Senator, it seems for many people that all of these measures always seem to affect the average citizen, the people who are simply just trying to keep their head above water. Bottom line, it seems that it's always in the pockets of the poor people. There seems to be no revenue generating policy or program. The economy is stagnant. You have business people talking about, listen, we just simply cannot meet our expenditures at the end of the month or whatever period of time that they're trying to. And why is it that all of these measures is always aimed at those who are most vulnerable?
Well, it comes down to, I guess, part of it is one, incompetence and mismanagement on the part of the government, because one of the reasons why, you see, okay, take for example the issues being experienced at the port right now and clearing of goods for Christmas time when people would normally sell money, is that, right? A large business, a large corporation, the kind that are the financiers of the PNM, let's just say, they could stand, they have those buffers in place that this wouldn't hurt them as badly. But a small to medium-sized business will go out of business because this is the time of year that they will make money that will keep them afloat for the whole of next year until next Christmas. Or maybe, the vacation time when school is out or something like that, depending on the type of business you have. But this is people's time to make money, and their goods, 1 week before Christmas, some of them cannot clear their goods up to now from the port. So that level of mismanagement is one of the reasons why the smaller businesses, the small man, people get the hurt. It affects everybody in terms of plenty people goods on big corporations and their goods there too. But they have the buffers in place that they will not go out of business. So that's one thing. The second thing, it comes back to the philosophy of the government. Don't ever forget that the Prime Minister said there's nothing wrong with the rich getting richer.
Yeah.
He doesn't see a problem with that. So their philosophy is not geared towards alleviating the strain on a small man. That is not a primary focus. It's not their central theme of their government. You understand? So they don't pay attention enough to what is happening. And when they introduce measures, they are looking at a cost savings that will come to they could axe people off of the list that will qualify for pension, right? Because they are looking at it in terms of dollars and cents, but their focus is not on the individual person. Their focus is not on the person who will go to the San Fernando General Hospital because they think they have dengue, and they will tell them, well, we don't have the antigens to test. If you feel they have dengue, go and do it privately. And that person has to find $1,000 or how much ever it costs to go privately and get it done because the public health system is failing them. And, you know, if that person happens to have $25,000 in their bank account, it's because they know that if they aren't able in an emergency to afford private health care, you're dead. You're dead.
And you're right. You know, now
and that's why. So they don't think about people like that.
Now, some of the footage we're showing here is your contribution that was made in the last budget debate. And one of the things that you were talking about was the, as far as the lack of resources and financing for the fire service department. Now, unfortunately, this tragedy that took place earlier this week, now we're caught up in a blame game. Also, people pointing fingers. The Minister of Public Utilities, the Fire Service Department, which is very unfortunate. One would think that, you know, coming out of all of this, you know, that the focus would be now on having these things, just having these things addressed and having these things fixed. So God forbid we wouldn't have anything like this reoccurring anytime in the near future.
Yes, well, you know, I shadow in the Senate the portfolio of national security as one of the areas that I shadow. And yes, I did speak about expenditure because I think this week the Fire Service Association Second Division President put out another statement. He had done so earlier this year, talking about the number of stations that didn't have adequate resources. I think the issue of equipment for the officers themselves, the breathing equipment and so on that they need to have. There was a shortage. They have been complaining for some time, and during the budget debate I did highlight, you know, how the money was spent, what was allocated and what was spent and not spent. Look, the bottom line is this is a problem that has existed for some time. It is extremely unfortunate that a parliamentary colleague is now the face of some of people who are, I would think, you know, suffering as a result of some of these issues that have been raised. There's a time for grieving, of course, and I think that many persons, and rightfully so, are grieving the loss of this individual at this time. It's a very sad situation with children. You know, I'm a mother, and one of the things that MP Morris Julian and I would have spoken about would have been, you know, children and so on, because we sat on a committee together.
Right.
And it is extremely sad, very, very sad situation. But I would say coming out of this situation, I really certainly do hope that we would have a critical examination into the capabilities of our fire service.
I really hope so, because of course we had the president of the Fire Association on last night, and I mean, when he started to break down what was taking place, you have fire tenders that are almost 20 years old, and you have some stations that simply don't have any fire tenders, especially in the East-West corridor there. And when you hear about these things, it makes you wonder, why are these things not a priority, where you have people who are first responders going out there trying to save lives, but they simply don't have it. Yeah, putting their life at risk. And it's very sad.
It's unfair to them, and it's unfair to the population. You know, I live in San Fernando. There's the Monrepo fire station, but the nearest fire stations from Monrepo would have been one on Lady Hills Avenue and one in Princestown. I understand that both of them have been closed for some time and haven't been reopened. So for a very large area, right here in South Trinidad, the only one that's operational at this point in time, I think, is Monrepo. And I mean, that's very worrisome, because when you're serving such a large area, it affects your response time. It affects many things that can happen. So, you know, it's like I said, a tremendously sad situation, as are all situations when there's a fire and a loss of property and life and so on, I experienced it in my own life, a very close family member losing their home and so on. Thank God nobody lost their life, but it was a very traumatic event that I remember from my young adult days. I was at university, and a situation like this with young children, it's hurtful to everyone to think about, especially when you know the person and you would have seen this person and interacted with the person. So it's very, very hurtful. And like I said, there's a time for grief, but there's also a time for accountability.
Yeah.
And we have to have some accountability coming out of this later on, where we would have a critical examination as to what is wrong.
And
what
I
needs to be
think
done.
that's only fair. And I think, especially in the interest of the citizens, I think it's only fair. I want to raise an issue here that was said by the minister in the National Security, the Ministry, Keith Scotland, and saying, of course, that government has the will in dealing with rising crime. He said that, and he's been on the job, of course, for just under 6 months. He said, although there have been some positive results in the murder rate over the past 2 months, he is still not satisfied and more work needs to be done. Now, he said that he can give the public the assurance that once there's the will, which we have, the government is working. We are working to try to reduce crime, and you are seeing incremental results. But for every one murder, it's a murder too much. For every one kidnapping, it's a kidnapping too much. And he says he thinks that we will see more results in the short term and better results in the medium to long term. Just this morning, a young 14-year-old student kidnapped in front of his family's business place. A 68-year-old pensioner, home invasion, which is a new trend. And you ask yourself, what have any of these people done to deserve any of this? Totally unacceptable, unwarranted, and it goes on. And he is saying that government has the will, but it's just not the will. The fact of the matter, we have about 13 more days until we usher in a brand new year, and we've already crossed 600 in murders.
Yes, well, I don't know what, these statistics are. You're getting all kinds of different statistics, but it doesn't matter, because the one thing I can agree with is every murder is one murder too much. And it's not just about the murders, it's about you have rising cases of extortion. You have a lot more, there has certainly been an uptick in number of kidnappings, and you're seeing that the people being targeted are people who, you have business or your family has business and so on. So you it's more than just the murders, the amount of robberies every day. What about, car theft? There's so much different things happening around the country affecting people, and we really do have, it goes way beyond the will. You can't just say, well, I really want to do this. You have to have strategies. You have to, be able to put things in place. If you have the will and you're saying that, but things aren't getting better, and I don't know what they're talking about incrementally better. You go out there and pick up 100 people off the street and ask them if they feel any safer now than they did last year. I don't think that you're going to hear them say yes, because I think it is in the minds of the population, people don't feel safe. A lot of people, you would have seen interviews being done in the shopping areas and so on, and people are saying, look, people just aren't going out as much, they're just coming out, they're not shopping as much, because it's not just about money, but it's also safety. People don't feel safe to be out, and doing as much as they would have done in the past around this time of year. And I don't know that saying that we have the will is enough. You have to examine what is really going wrong. Confidence in the police service remains an issue. And I can understand why. We recently had a number of cases where police officers were charged with offenses and the matters were dismissed because, certain directions weren't complied with by the same officers who charged them.
Right.
That affects confidence. If you want to raise your detection rate, you must have cooperation between the public and the police. And that is severely lacking. And the police, I certainly joined the Committee for National Security. The police come before us all the time and they complain about that. They complain that the public don't want to work with them. Why do you think that is? What can you do to improve that and to raise public confidence in the police service? Someone complained to me very recently that there was an incident in their area, a robbery that took place, and the police came and asked them to get CCTV footage. Of course, that's fantastic. CCTV footage will be very helpful in trying to solve a crime, etc., etc. And they were fearful to provide it because the minute, you will have to provide the CCTV footage, you may have to go to court eventually and say, well, yes, this is my camera, and they were very careful, but they wanted to be good citizens, they wanted to provide it. That person came to me to ask if there was anything they could do legally about it. They said within an hour of sending the footage to the police officer, the investigator, that footage was all over social media. It was all over social media, and it was clear as day that it came from their home and their premises. So it's very clear to the criminal who is still out there, who sees it, that they are the people who provided the CCTV footage.
Yeah, and I want to agree with you when you talk about the fact that, saying that just having the will. I mean, you have a bunch of people in a room, you have a national Security Council.
And
Yeah.
we want to fight crime.
You want to fight crime. But when you talk about that, I mean, what about some of the basic things that, like last night, I had Attorney Jack Deo sing on, and he spoke again about the electronic bracelets, something that he raised at one of the UNC's town hall meetings. And it made so much sense. When in fact that someone is on bail, you can track them, you will know their whereabouts, because most of the time these are the people who will, of course, commit more crimes, whether to pay legal or whatever the case may be. And these are basic, low-hanging fruits that can be implemented.
But I went through that as well in my budget debate. If you go back and look at it, I showed again about the allocations. We talked about I have been writing, I wrote to the chairman of the JSC and asked them specifically to bring back the electronic monitoring unit, because the last time they came before us, they weren't even fully staffed. They had put out advertisements for people. They hadn't yet hired staff. They haven't fully staffed that unit. They haven't procured sufficient bracelets, etc. And when you look at the budgetary allocations being given to the unit, I question that. And I said plain as day, I'm referring to my colleagues, I said, if me, Naked and Lida had to go and put on a walk somewhere, but we know Lida have a bracelet, we leave it home, right? At the end of the day, once you put that bracelet on somebody, you narrow the pool of persons who are available to go out and reoffend. And the government has acknowledged that the majority of crimes are being committed by people who they say are out on bail and they are reoffending. Or maybe people who have served their time and they come out. So introduce a system of electronic monitoring, not just people who are out on bail awaiting their trial, but also people who you have to introduce a parole system, so that even if you are a known offender and you serve your time and you are released from prison for committing a scene of a crime and committing another offense. That is very simple. As you call it, a very low-hanging fruit, a simple, easy measure that really just takes more than will, it takes investment, it takes smart investment, and it takes strategy, and people who are thinking clear strategy. So like I say, simple thing, electronic monitoring, building confidence in the police service so that people, and you know what, at the end of the day, and that example I used for you there about CCTV, so now people will be more hesitant to provide their CCTV footage. But apart from that, why don't we have a fully functional, operational, public CCTV system being operated? What have they done about it? The UNC, when they were in government, started that system. They had the cameras working. The whole system or partially fell apart earlier this year. They started to put in a tender. Some bacchanal and bubble was going on with the tender. The whole thing had to stop. People putting in tenders after the closing date and all that. So there was a point in time where a whole bunch of the CCTV cameras on the public system wasn't even functional. All right, but what they should have been doing is fixing, maintaining, and expanding the public CCTV camera system so that the police themselves could be conducting surveillance in the main, areas within the cities and so on. How hard is that?
I think at one point, Senator, we saw headlines where it seemed as though the criminals were monitoring the movement of the police officers.
Of the police, yes. They found a system, I think somewhere in Tulapuna, where, and that just, we never heard anything more about that. So are we, are the criminals really that much more advanced and so many steps ahead of the state? And sometimes I have to think that they are, because they are being more creative. They have better strategies to get around the police that the police are developing to get at them. And I mean, strategy and policy starts at the level of government. It starts at the level of National Security Council, ministries. So every year we hear about, national security getting a huge chunk of the budget, national security, education, and health. And, national security money, we're going to put 100 more police. We're going to buy 100 more police vehicles. We're going to buy this. We're going to buy, and, what is really happening?
Yeah.
Yes, you want the police to have vehicles to be able to respond quicker and so on, but, one of the things you learn in management is that every initiative, they call about SMART, and M in SMART stands for measurable.
Yeah.
Are you able to measure your success? When you add vehicles and you spend money on vehicles and so on, right? Are you measuring the impact that has on response time? Do you still have a poor response time? Is anybody actually doing these metrics? Is anybody measuring to see if this is really the issue? Is the availability of the vehicles and how many vehicles you purchase every year really making that much of a difference in terms of the response time? I don't know. I really just don't know.
And these are things we have to look at. Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
Closing comments is that I think it's been, I think that in the last, since the budget to now, we are, this year has been a terrible, terrible year for this country under this administration. We have seen more incompetence than we have seen in previous years, and we have seen scandal after scandal with respect to the expenditure of public monies. At the end of the day, when you don't have accountability and transparency in the expenditure of public monies from this, from your government, what you will not see is prosperity. And as long as you don't have increased prosperity in a country and alleviation of poverty, you are going to see a rise in crime. And that is a simple way that you can connect the dots. So when you hear that you have, millions of dollars unaccounted for, the Auditor General is complaining, and rather than trying to solve that issue and have that level of accountability, they're starting to take the way to court and fight it down and set up tribunal and send pre-action letter and so on and so forth. You understand that you have a serious problem with your governance in this country. When you have a minister saying that, a cost overrun is not so much, but by the next day, they have to call a press conference to correct themselves because they now see the cabinet. So I wonder, all of them, I thought Hines was the only one who's sleeping, but apparently, all of them sleeping in cabinet because they just say, the Minister of Finance didn't even know what was in his own notes in terms of the amount of cost overruns with this Tobago terminal. Now you have the Attorney General saying that they didn't even realize that a whole policy shift had taken place to a bill that ended up being laid in Parliament.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, apparently nobody read the bill being in Cabinet. I don't know what that Cabinet is really be doing, but you really just see that there's a level of incompetence, dishonesty, and just, a lack of care and concern for what the average citizen in this country is experiencing. And we have seen nothing but poor governance from this PNM administration, and it is really time for us to start change in this country.
All right. Once again, I want to thank you so much for being with us here tonight. It's been a pleasure, very insightful. Again, all the best for the season, and look forward to talking to you, of course, again in the brand new year.
Yes, same to you. Thanks again for having me tonight.
Folks, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're speaking to the Chaguanas mayor right here on The Observer. We'll be right back.
This Christmas, take advantage of all the top quality hardware supplies at the lowest prices only at Midland Hardware, number 97 Eastern Main Road, Arouca. Supreme Emulsion Paint, only $70.50. Water tanks from $841. Thin set from $48. Single kitchen faucets from $71. Face basin taps from $245. Entrance locks and deadbolts $50 and up. Savings on toilet sets, face basins, and all concrete blocks. We also stockpile sand and gravel. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or give us a call at 646-2144. Open Sunday to Sunday from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's You can rely on Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable, and innovative products. Available at ProVar Distributors Limited. We carry a wide range of Husqvarna equipment, power cutters, diamond saw blades, handheld blowers, trimmers and brush cutters, chainsaws, backpack blowers, water pumps, lawnmowers, lubricants, and all accessories. Full after sales and service support whenever. Find a dealer near you.
The Excel brand delivers quality service. I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega Excel. If Omega Excel works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger in my knees where I could add more pressure.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Kane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Limiting chronic inflammation is important for so many conditions that occur.
I had a lot of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees, in my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega Excel saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega Excel has worked.
This season, whatever job needs to be done for your home or business, you can rely on innovative products. Available at ProVar Distributors Limited. We carry a wide range of Husqvarna equipment, power cutters, diamond saw blades, handheld blowers, trimmers and brush cutters, chainsaws, backpack blowers, water pumps, lawnmowers, lubricants, and all accessories. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact ProVar Distributors Limited at 233-9438 to find a dealer. Midland Hardware, number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Supreme Emulsion Paint, only $70.50. Water tanks from $841. Thin set from $48. Single kitchen faucets from $71. Face basin taps from $31. Pitch pine doors, all sizes, $465. Plain flush doors, all sizes, $245. Entrance locks and deadbolts, $50 and up. Savings on toilet sets and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or give us a call at 646-2144. Open Sunday to Sunday from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction. Excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Oh gosh, this place hot. And the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Kane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air.
The Excel brand delivers quality service. I would recommend Omega Excel to everyone.
Take care of yourself, take care of your health with Omega XL. If Omega XL works for me, it will work for you. Over a period of time, I started feeling stronger. My knees I could add more pressure.
This Christmas, take advantage of all the top quality hardware supplies at the lowest prices, only at Midland Hardware, number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruca. Supreme Emulsion Paint, only $70.50. Water tanks from $841. Thinset from $48. Single kitchen faucets from $71. Face basin taps from $31. Pitch pine doors, all sizes, $400. And deadbolts, $50 and up. Savings on toilet sets, face basins, and all concrete blocks. We also stockpile sand and gravel. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or give us a call at 646-2144. Open Sunday to Sunday from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland. A global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable, and innovative products. Available at Provar Distributors Limited. We carry a wide range of Husqvarna equipment, power cutters, diamond saw blades, handheld blowers, trimmers and brush cutters, chainsaws, backpack blowers, water pumps, lawnmowers, lubricants, and all accessories. Full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar this. When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Iba. You know, persons would say, Empress, what Iba means? So Iba is a Yoruba word that Alhamdulillah, you know, every belief system have a praise. Well, Iba is a Yoruba word meaning to give the highest praise. And Iba is an inspiration, a gift that was given to me by my ancestors to celebrate the divine feminine energies of this universe. You know, to celebrate our mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, all women as a matter of fact. Even the divine feminine energies in for them there is no balance. So that's the whole concept behind Iba Music Festival, is where we gather to celebrate women, to celebrate the divine feminine energy through music, dance, and all the creative aspects of Trinidad and Tobago and the world at large.
limiting chronic inflammation.
Lots of pain 4 years ago.
I used to have pain in my knees, in my hip.
Taking it for arthritis.
Omega XL saved my life.
Then I started to realize, well, hey, I could use my hands, I don't have any pain.
All in all, I am pleased to say that the Omega XL has worked.
And we are back, folks. We do apologize for that. The mayor is in transit, so we, of course, will try to get him at some other time. So before we wrap up, of course, the lines are open. I want to hear from you. What do you think transpired today? Perhaps it was told that, listen, you know, election is around the corner. We need to pull this back. We're getting a lot of people who are asking questions, pushing back on it. It doesn't look good. It's not good PR. And, what would have said that? Because they were so strong-minded as far as bringing it out, trying to define that this wasn't an entitlement, it was a grant, and, it wasn't something that people would need to have, or people just can apply for it. And we heard from the minister, Donna Cox, that, it was something that she was trying to protect senior citizens from, as far as people in their household or whoever may abuse the system or abuse whatever it is, the money. So we want to hear from you. Of course, the lines are open. And of course, you know the number to call. If you're making a WhatsApp call, it's 494-0938. And of course, the other number again, Master Control, 225-9790. What do you think transpired today? All of a sudden, things just started to change. Good night, welcome.
Good night, Mikey. Good night to you and to everybody out there. Mikey, they got caught with their pants down.
Yeah.
They were shocked that Mrs. Prasad Pisesa brought it out on Monday night, and everybody picked it up and ran with it. But you would have the pocket of the PNM supporters saying that, he doing right or whatever, but until it affect them, it affect their pockets, then they will start saying something about it. But you know what is disturbing is the lies by the Attorney General. This perjurer coming to say that he wasn't there and he didn't check it, and one set of nonsense. But doesn't they have people, wasn't there an acting Attorney General?
Well, there's always somebody.
That?
Yeah, there's always somebody acting if the Attorney General isn't there.
Servant.
Right.
A nameless public servant. So why didn't put Sandora to check it? And she working in the office of the Attorney General? No, she not there for that. She there for other things. Right? And now they're blaming somebody else's fate. But they were caught with their pants on it. Make them look shame to see that all they can do pensioners this and all they getting this big pension come January. They felt ashamed, and as you rightly said, elections are in here, so they have to do something to pacify the pensioners. But nothing is going to work.
Yeah, they seem so gung-ho going forward with it. You had a minister who was redefining this whole thing, that it was a grant and it was about protecting senior citizens. And all of a sudden, we're hearing about some unnamed public servant who made a mistake, who doesn't even have the authority to change any of the dynamics of that bill. But they're saying that it's somebody who did something. It was an error. It was a type. But what's interesting as well that you mentioned, that you would have someone like the Attorney General who simply do not care about their good name and would have it tainted in a scenario like this.
Yeah, and you see, Mikey, when all else fail, if you can't blame the public servant, blame Kamala, right? So somebody else has to take the blame, not them. And they continue to fool the people of this country, and if people don't wise up and start putting them in their place and pushing back, nothing is going to happen. Thanks a lot, Mikey.
Thank you. I agree with you 100%. This doesn't smell right all of a sudden. It's very rare that we have these press conferences, but here it is. It was something that she came back along with the Attorney General to say that, you know what, we are not going to touch it. Because I got a lot of calls from senior citizens there, about 5 or 6, that were very, very concerned. One woman was on the brink of tears. She said, my God, what am I going to do and what have you? And I really and truly believe that they would have said, listen, you know what, it's an election time and we simply cannot risk this. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mike K. and all your listeners to the Observer. Now, they have, I don't think it's determined, no? I look like they have a fetish for old age pensioners. In 2010, just before the election, you had a fellow by the name Patrick Manning. It's the same thing he was talking about, pension, and how the incoming Prime Minister and the UNC or the PP government cannot sustain it. And he had a walkabout in St. Joseph with his MP at that time called Kennedy Simmons. And you know who he met? He met a fella by the name of Percy Villafana.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember what Percy Villafana did?
That's right.
Cross his arms and say, do so, telling everybody to run them. Now, we have to take a page out of Percy Villafana, and we have to use our two fingers, the index fingers to vote them, and the middle finger to tell them off. And everybody knows what that middle finger do. So that's what we have to come up with, another symbol to, and it will be the two finger symbols to vote the PLM, the whole cabinet who suffers from Alzheimer, etc., etc. I see you're grinning. You enjoy that two-finger approach.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it just doesn't add up. I mean, you're right. It just doesn't add up. All of a sudden, you know.
We had to tell them out of office, man.
Yeah, apparently they were, you know, they didn't expect such a pushback. But I mean, but my thing is, why is it that all of these policies are always aimed at poor people?
And they fill in the back pocket. They still have to account for the 3 billion, you know?
Yeah.
And they tell me nothing about it. I want to know if the third floor was built with some of that money of the Balizé house, which I have relabeled Akil Chamber Suite. You understand? No, man, they're becoming disgusting now.
Thank you, Gola.
Nice.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I just don't understand why all these policies seem to be engineered towards those who are most vulnerable, poor people. You don't hear them coming out and saying, listen, these companies that get this large portion of Forex, government is going to start taxing them. We're going to start putting penalties on them, something geared towards those who have. You know, all the rich that are getting richer, there's no program, anything, but you hear about property tax. And then when the media reaches down there, you see poor people in the line, and they're saying to themselves, my God, and you could see the impression on their faces that these are people who are simply trying to keep their head above water to make ends meet. Now you're talking about old age pension, and it goes on and on. Is this government, for whatever reason, is not poor people friendly? Because we know they're not union friendly. It seems as though once any sort of state body is represented by a union, is looked upon as a liability rather than an asset. And that be that it's easier to sell, it's easier to privatize because you don't have to deal with the unions, so you try to get rid of them. Are we seeing the same thing, that they just simply have a deep-rooted sort of a disgust when it comes to poor people in this country? Take everything from them, empty their wallets, empty their bank accounts. Even when they were changing the money, they knew exactly what the barber had, what the fisherman had, and these, for some reason, was a question as to, you're not entitled to have this kind of money. You know, so again, the line's open before we go, 225-9790, and for your WhatsApp calls, 494-0938. Don't forget, folks, our bodies are under stress, from environmental toxins to work stress to poor food choices and low nutrients in the food we eat. Our bodies are under a lot of stress. So what do? The omega-3 fatty acids help the body reduce inflammation. Omega XL provides the health benefits of many fatty acids. Well, please, it is one of the most powerful, all-natural anti-inflammatory supplement on the market today. Get your bottle of Omega XL. Well, clock on the wall says it. We've got to, we've got about 3 minutes again, so if you want to squeeze in your calls, again, 225-9790 and 494-0938. Be careful. I mean, you know, Christmas is next week. Whatever it is that you can make the best of it. Perhaps have a good meal, perhaps be around family. It has not been the best of a period of time. But once you are among the living, once you are here above ground, you make the best of whatever it is. And next year, as you know, we are already into that election season. So there's a lot that needs to be done and a lot that needs, of course, to be highlighted. And right here on The Observer, we're going to do that for you. We're looking for extra nights so we can continue, of course, bringing you everything, unearthing all that's taking place from a different perspective for those of you who want to hear from many of the main players what is going on. So we're going to be bringing that to you as well. And anything else, of course, as well as the ground report and other programs for you, the people, to know what is taking place. It's not easy. And many of you are just simply trying to see how best you can buy time until that bell rings, because we know you're eager. We know that you have that zeal to go out there and perform your civic duty. So again, so making it very, very interesting for the next year. And what do we expect in 2025? Less than 2 weeks away. Well, hopefully it's not going to be a continuation of murders, home invasions, kidnappings, extortion, poor health care, poor infrastructure. But there are those who are going to be campaigning on the fact that they did good and they deserve to stay in office another term. And what say you? Well, folks, that brings us to the end. Remember, of course, we are observing, but the action has started. And again, be safe, enjoy the season, and please take care of yourself and your families. On behalf of The Observer, have a good one.